All right, let's do it.
Hello, this is Jenny Clark with Solvability, and today's Florida GovCon podcast, I'm talking with Tony Gray of GX. And Tony, I'm so glad you could join us today and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. GX is the name of my company, and I started it a couple of years ago to address some, I think, deficiencies that I've seen in the industry since I've been working in the defense industry and the GovCon market for close to 25 years. And there are three primary areas where I really wanted to address and help improve for my customers. And one of those was mitigating a lot of the challenges that clients have with the proposal process. It's very labor intensive, it's very time intensive, it's a difficult process. So that's one area. And then when they win a contract, also helping them continue to communicate with their client where they're communicating value. And then finally, overall, is continuing that entire process through the proposal effort, through the win and the execution, to the recompete and expanding their marketplace by capitalizing on the existing past performance that they have.
Well, that's so important. So much effort goes into these bids, trying to figure out what you're going to go after, how you're going to do it, creating a team that's going to go through it, doing all the work of collecting it, writing it, pricing it, and everything else. There's such a large investment, especially for small businesses as a percentage of their sales, and they've got to be able to do it right the first time. And I feel like that's one of the things that you really help them understand and tell them what to focus on. So, one of the things that I noticed you talk about is making your proposals, your all of this activity related to business development capture, compliant, compelling, and credible. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you said, proposals are high intensity. They're a lot of pressure, they're a lot of work, they're a lot of effort. In a lot of ways, it's like getting married and going out to buy an engagement ring. And when you're buying a diamond ring, they say that you have to look at color, cut, and clarity. Well, I have three C's for business development and proposal efforts in particular, and the three C's are compliance, being compelling, and being credible. And the first one is compliant. And you have to be compliant when you write a proposal. I know it sounds simple, but it's amazing how many companies trip up with not being compliant. When the government says respond to A, B, and C, they want you to respond to A, B, and C. If you respond with X, Y, and Z, they throw out your proposal. No questions, no sympathy. They move on to the next proposal. So compliance is critical, just straight out of the gate. The second area is to be compelling. And to be compelling, you want to convey the value to your client. You want to show them innovation. You want to address their, as we say, hot buttons, their pain points, their key issues that really set the tone with the customer, that you understand their problems. You've tailored a unique solution just for them that will be low risk and it will be high quality. And then the final area is credibility. And you can have a wonderful writer, make sure that you are compliant. They can tell a wonderful story and they can make you sound extremely compelling. But at the end of the day, the client is going to want to make sure that you are a credible service provider. And to do that, you have to speak intelligently about your past performance, your capabilities, and demonstrate your proof points throughout your proposal, in addition to the past performance citations that you present to the customer.
Well, it's gotten so much more complex trying to get all this information together. And one of the things that I'm always wondering about is on the compliance side, I don't do proposals. But I've always heard that you have a matrix and a checklist and things like that. And it seems like there's just so many steps to do it. Isn't a big part of this all creating a process that you can repeat over and over besides having some kind of boilerplate? Or what do people really need to be doing in that area?
Well, that's a good question. There's the question of what do people need to be doing and what do people actually do. And unfortunately, I see a lot of folks engage in what I call proposal theater. And there's a whole cast of characters involved in proposal theater, right? There's a paradigm in proposal development that is a team-oriented process. And it's used prevalently throughout industry. It's ideally suited for highly complex proposals where you're bidding on potentially a weapon system or where you have a lot of engineering and a lot of moving parts. So that process has a team of a number of folks. Of course, you're going to have a proposal manager. You'll probably have a proposal administrator. You'll have probably content editors, a graphics person, a price to win person, a pricing analyst, a capture manager, and then you'll also have the business developer that's involved in the process. So right there, you already have close to a dozen folks involved in this team process. Now, what you may have keyed in on is I missed one critical component, and that's the writers. Where are the writers in this team concept? Well, what companies typically do is they use writers that are usually direct billable folks, full-time folks that are subject matter experts in their field and in supporting their customer, which is great. But unfortunately, they're not writers. So this proposal theater, if you will, tries to take place without any professional actors. The idea is you have all of these folks, your set designer, your director, and everybody else, and then they try and put on a show with amateur actors. So that's the real problem with the current construct and the way that proposals are written today. Again, it's a wonderful process for large businesses engaging in highly complex proposals that are perhaps 100 pages or more. But small business in particular really struggle with trying to repeat that model and copy that model and achieve success because it is so expensive for them. And it's essentially what I call an upside down pyramid, because all of your resources that provide administrative, marketing, all of those inputs that go into a proposal, they don't actually produce the proposal. As the riddle goes in the industry is, how many proposal managers does it take to write a proposal? Well, the answer is none. Proposal managers don't write proposals. They're proposal managers. They're not proposal writers. And the process that I help clients implement is a writer-oriented process where the writer comes first. And when you take the writer first and you use professional writers to write your proposal, then the requirement to have a lot of those other resources like a proposal manager, a proposal administrator, a lot of these other folks aren't even necessary anymore, because now you have a professional writer who gets it right the first time. And that for small businesses becomes extremely powerful because their proposal management overhead decreases substantially. And now they can start to produce more proposals, higher quality proposals, and subsequently increase their win rate.
That would make a big difference to anybody that I'm talking with. The other thing under compliant is whenever I talk to anybody in the finance department that has to do the pricing, they're always like the last people to get it. And then there's a lot of delay and misunderstanding in that part. And I think that having the compliant piece also means making sure that people are involved at the right level. But the main thing I'm hearing from you, Tony, is companies could really reduce their cost of creating proposals if they focus on the professional writing as their main resource. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And then a proposal writer that is an expert in writing in the small business space knows how to work with your business developer and your finance person. Those are the three key components in the model that I use. A professional writer collaboratively working with the business developer. You need the business developer to provide the intelligence about the market space, about the competitors, information about the client, their pain points, their win themes. And you need your finance person to obviously price this at the perfect price. And your writer and your pricing person work hand in glove to ensure that the solution that is presented to the customer is also a solution that is affordable and competitive.
It makes a big difference. So on the compelling side, I've always talked to people that are trying to enter the government contracting market, and they say, well, I want to sell this to the government. And I always say, well, you know what? That's not the way they buy. You have to figure out a way to let them buy what you've got. And I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but when we talk about compelling, what makes your proposal compelling to a customer that's reading it or an evaluator that's trying to figure out what do they do and why are they different?
Sure, sure. Well, the first thing is just the quality of the writing. And that really makes a difference. I've had discussions with contracting officers where they have found it very frustrating to receive proposals that are low quality. And when I say low quality, I'm just talking about the writing. And there are certain things you can say in a proposal, certain things you shouldn't say. So for example, the last thing you want to do is start your proposal with, we are pleased to submit our proposal for whatever the project may be. That's a red flag right from the beginning for the client. First of all, they really don't care how pleased you are. They want to know right up front, what are you going to do for them? Do you understand their problem? And what is your proven solution to solve it? And those three components are really what wraps around building a very compelling proposal for a client.
Well, that's good information for me because I would have written that cover letter we're pleased to submit. And what I think what's interesting whenever I talk to somebody that really understands this industry the way you do, you have a sense for the way that it needs to be said. And once you explain it to somebody, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this so wrong for so long. Thank you.
Well, and you also have to put yourself in the client's position when you write. And when you have a professional writer that understands source selection, understands that the government may receive a lot of bids, they are, and many times they're overwhelmed with the number of bids that they get. So imagine trying to read a 60-page proposal 10 times, 20 times. And after a while, they're human like everybody else. Everything starts to blend together. And if your writing style is not impactful, if your writing style is not concise, and you don't have the right graphics that really pop out and catch the customer's attention, you're going to lose them in the first page.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be like reading scripts for a play or reading manuscripts or something like that. After a while, it's like they all look black and white and there's nothing very interesting about it. And nobody's like, wait, how do they solve my problem? They didn't answer these questions, and immediately you're down at the bottom of the stack.
Sure. And again, it goes back to the root of the problem, which is customers generally use direct billable subject matter experts, and they are fantastic. They are brilliant people, but they're not writers. They're probably not writers. They probably didn't get any kind of formal education in writing. They're probably engineers. Again, extremely smart folks. And they play a critical role in our process. We can't write with professional writers unless we have those subject matter experts involved. But now the subject matter experts aren't required to do something that odds are they're not trained in, they probably don't like to do, and they're probably not good at it. And now we take the burden off of the subject matter experts and we engage them directly as a writer. We do brainstorming sessions with them. We gather detailed information from them, and they love it because now they get to do what they love to do, what they're really good at, and we do what we do really well. And that really provides a powerful symbiotic relationship. And now the quality of the writing is impactful, and your probability of catching and maintaining your customer's attention increases tremendously.
That sounds like a big benefit. I know that whenever I go to trade shows and I go around and talk to to people at the booth, and whenever the technical person gets started talking, they don't know that they've lost me in the first 5 minutes just because it's not my area. I can see they're excited about it, but I can imagine the relief that some of these technical or engineering people have when they've got somebody kind of pulling out the details and organizing it for them, because then everybody's using their best skills.
Yep, you're right. And this continues on through the entire process of supporting a government client. So once you've won your particular bid, then you have to move into transition and execution of the contract. And here again, oftentimes clients will focus on the win. It's all about the win. It's like a golf swing. It's as if somebody is learning how to play golf and they focus just on the backswing and trying to connect with the ball, but they don't do any kind of a follow through. And if you've ever played golf and try to hit a golf ball with just a backswing, that ball's probably going to dribble off the tee about 10 feet. It's not going to go anywhere. And we use that same concept in working with our customers and helping them successfully move forward post-win. And we work on their follow-through game, where we continue with the content-oriented approach. And we continue to work with those same subject matter experts now who are working for the customer on site, and they're doing a fantastic job. But what I've seen in the past, having been a program manager supporting various programs, is you win the bid, you hire a program manager. The program manager comes in, probably doesn't read the proposal that was presented to the customer, and they start to work with the best intentions in mind. However, they don't have the context. They don't have the foundation of the government customer's expectations that were set in the proposal. So what we do is we work with our clients after they win, help them through the transition in a program management function to continue with the effort to meet the customer's expectation that were set in the proposal. And now we always call the transition period the honeymoon phase, and it's the opportunity to win your halo. And if you can nail that 30-day transition or 60-day transition or however long your transition is, now you've really set the tone with your client over the next 5 years or 3 years or whatever the period of performance may be. You've earned that halo in transition, which can always be challenging to meet a client's expectations you set in a proposal. And if you sustain that level of expectation or exceed it in transition, you are well on your way to a very successful contract.
I'm so glad that you talked about that, because I have heard, heard presentations where the project manager says as soon as they won the contract, they changed project managers, and so I got the bid, and what they said they could do, I couldn't see how we could do it. And I feel what you're talking about is making sure that the whole team is on board moving forward into the execution phase, understanding here's what we bid, here's what we said we do. We set up a plan. We are obligated to follow it, because not only are you obligated to follow it to deliver what you promised, but you also have to do it on time and within budget for the contract that you bid.
Exactly. And if you measure the stress levels of your government client, this is the point in a contract where they are the most stressed. Transition, they know, is the riskiest part of the entire process. And this is the white knuckle experience that they need your help to move through stress-free in those first 30 days or 60 days of the transition. And then once you're past that point and you've met or exceeded the expectations you set in the proposal, then you can start to achieve a steady state with your client as you continue to provide monthly reports or financial reports. And when you're providing those reports, we help our customers continually convey value to the client. You established your value in the proposal. and you sustain that value through transition, now during execution, it's critical to provide the regular updates to your client on how you are delivering value to them and to their customers. Often their customers are the warfighters, or they're the American citizen using their services, whatever the case might be. But oftentimes what I've seen in a program management role is there is a requirement, a contractual requirement, to provide a monthly report to the customer. And program managers get busy, subject matter experts get busy, especially on technical programs, which can be very complex. And oftentimes the monthly report turns into a book report, a pet rock report, okay? And it's a list of all activities that took place, which contractually is what you're obligated to provide. But oftentimes it's not written from the standpoint of what's in it for the customer and what's in it for the customer's customer. And we help our clients produce the monthly reports and other content that they regularly provide to their client throughout execution, where it's all value oriented. So when you completed a task, present that task completion in the context of what did it provide to the customer? How did it move the needle? How did it achieve the strategic objectives that they wanted to accomplish? And if you do that, then the government client will continually have their expectations met, again, that you set in your proposal effort. And throughout your execution, you're continually demonstrating value being delivered to your client, so that when the time for recompete comes along, where you're maybe 6 months out from recompete, the client has a wonderful assessment of your performance throughout the 5 years or however long your period of performance may have lasted. And now you're set up very nicely going into the recompete position, where you've reduced your risk going into recompete, and you've reduced the risk of losing the contract to another competitor.
Well, and that is so important. And what I'm thinking of is really it went back to the very beginning. In order to be able to do these things, you had to have a good sense of what your company's good at, why you should be working with that customer, how well you know that customer, and how consistent the quality of the way that your company operates, the objectives, how you're structured. All of that really fits in together, doesn't it?
It does. And all those pieces come together in one nice puzzle that then positions you to pursue other portions of the marketplace, pursue other bids. If you've successfully accomplished a period of performance and supported your client, now you can leverage that experience, that past performance, for other competitions. And the assessment from your existing clients is a significant portion of many bids, where the customer asks for your past performance, and oftentimes the government will also ask for surveys or assessments, or what we call CPAR assessments, from your existing customers, to get a sense of how well you've supported similar customers and how well you've performed on similar size and scope contracts.
So it's really about being set up to support that customer and take them where they want to go. So, Tony, it's been good to talk to you about what your company does and your philosophy of it, which to me, the main thing that I heard from you is that it's really about creating the environment that your customer is looking for by taking your technical experts and crafting what their positions are, how they operate, how they think, and what they want to do into a cohesive writing, and making sure that you follow that through from beginning to end, from the early stage of the proposal all the way through executing and winning on a recompete.
Yeah, it's the whole process. And this process that we use at GX is built upon the best of breed practices used in the commercial world. called customer experience design, or they abbreviate it as CX. So when you walk into a restaurant, a hotel, or many other businesses, there are customer experience designers that planned every facet of your customer experience. They plan the menu, they plan the interior design, the entire experience, even the music is planned, it's architected. And what we are doing at GX is we are helping our clients understand that it's important to build and sustain a government experience design that's built at the proposal phase and executed throughout the contract period and positions you then to pursue and win other business.
And it sounds like to me, when I think of customer experience and translate it into government experience, it to me sounds an awful lot like conceptually, where did you start? What's your mission? What's your branding? And where are you going? And I don't think that we really necessarily think that way. So the direction you're taking people in starting to look at themselves that way and how they want to move forward as organizations is really important.
Yep, it sure is. It sure is. It is the secret sauce, if you will, to bidding, winning, and executing contracts.
Well, great. So, Tony, thanks so much for being with us today. And you're going to be a speaker at the Florida GovCon Summit, which is coming up February 28th and March the 1st in Orlando, bringing together second stage small businesses from across the state. And actually, we'll have people from other parts of the country coming down to share information. There'll be a lot of focus on what we call targeting, teaming, and tactics, where we're going to have industry experts and peers talk about what makes them successful and how small businesses can be more effective in learning to grow their federal business and keeping more of that work for the companies that are really wanting to control it and control their own destiny. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and I know we'll be hearing more about GX. And also, you've got a group called SOFTA. Could you wrap up by telling us a little bit about SOFTA?
Sure. SOFTA is the Soft Technology Association, and this organization is a 501c6 nonprofit that is dedicated to helping the special operations technology industry, which supports not only the U.S. military, but also law enforcement and international partners. And we work with and we represent our members that are special operations technology development companies. We help them grow and we help them support the warfighter.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. And thanks so much for being on the podcast today. And I will be talking to you again soon.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jenny.
All right.